pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, April 15th, Town of Monroe Town Board meeting. I ask tonight that everyone up here on the dais refrain from interrupting each other so that we can tend to the business at hand on the agenda. I need a motion to open up the meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Bingham to second.
You heard that, Madam Clerk?
No, I did. I heard who
It was
seconded.
Sal and
Thank you.
Councilwoman Bingham. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye. Richardson, aye.
So moved. Madam Clerk, 2024 tax season update?
Yes, this is the last announcement regarding this.
Hey, one sec. George, you're ready. I'm sorry, right? In the air. All right. Thank you.
So this is the last announcement for the 2024 tax season, as our tax season has officially closed as of April 1st. We wound up collecting 89% of the taxes. Anyone who still has unpaid taxes will need to contact the county at the Commissioner of Finance's office.
Thank you. Hey, next item is the 2024 Monroe Community Clean Sweep. We have our final committee meeting tomorrow. Everything's in place. We have gotten more sponsorships this year than we have in the last 2 years combined. Yeah, it's great. You know, the superintendent of highways, both in Monroe and in Harriman and the village of Monroe were very instrumental in getting the sponsorship call out. So I personally want to thank them. It's this Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to kick off at St. Anastasia Church. There will be electronic recycling. There will be paper shredding, tire recycling, and a thanks to Morangi as well for their contribution in getting this done.
We got that big dumpster again?
We have 2 dumpsters. We have a garbage dumpster and a tire dumpster. And then the electronic recycling is going to be in between the, I guess, tire and the paper shredding, which is going on. So it's
Always amazing.
yeah. Yes.
Supervisor, I'd just like to add, we currently have 68 residents signed up to participate.
Oh, great. Yeah, if you haven't signed up, you can still sign up. What are you cutting off the sign-ups? You can still come in and sign up that day. It'll take you a little long, but are you cutting off the sign-ups? No? Okay.
Just the sponsorship was ended so that the shirts could be printed.
Right, okay. Any questions? Nope. Okay.
How's the weather look Saturday?
Weather's 61, sunny.
Good. Awesome. Good.
Item 3.3, Councilman Scancarello, that's a job fair at the Monroe Woodbury High School.
Okay, so this is the second annual job fair at the Monroe Woodbury High School. We did it last year to see how it would flow, and we wound up getting 75 students jobs locally through a lot of the local businesses. It is at the high school, April 25th, which is next Thursday from 5 to 8 p.m. We've got 35 businesses, I believe, signed up. So high school kids will be hired on the spot and given an opportunity to get their first job. So encourage anyone you know, young students, to come on out. And, you know, a lot of these local businesses need support. They need help. And what better way to get our local kids their first job. So come on out and support that event. It's at the high school, April 25th from 5 to 8 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Last item up on community announcements, unless someone has anything else. The Orange County Veteran Service Agency is going to be holding a free movie for veterans on May 1st. There's going to be a 1 o'clock showing and a 6 o'clock showing, and the name of the movie is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It's going to be at Flagship each veteran and a guest will get a free popcorn and drink. If you want to reserve tickets, you can call Christian Farrell, who is the Director of Orange County Veterans Services, at 845-291-2470.
I have another community announcement. The annual MS Walk is Sunday, June 9th, and it'll be right here in the village of Monroe, starting at Airplane Park. They are looking for volunteers, so all of those high school students who need to get their volunteer hours in before graduation, this could be an excellent opportunity. They're looking for tasks of all kinds, giving out water, registering people, setting up, cleaning up, whatever it is. So if anyone's interested in volunteering, again, the date is Sunday, June 9th. They can send me an email, dhool@monroeny.org, and we can get you a couple hours.
Sorry, what time is that from? Is there a time?
So I believe it starts, registration starts at 8. You're welcome.
I will make a motion to open up the continuation of the public hearing for proposed local law E-V1 of 2023, Chapter 41, Sewage Systems and the revision.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, aye.
Richardson, I.
Okay, so moved.
No public comment.
No public comment? Councilwoman Bingham, sorry.
So I spoke to Sean earlier today, and I spoke with him throughout the week. He's on number 8 of all the questions I had for him, so we need to continue this just a little bit longer because he was putting a lot of time and effort into the grants application. So I said, grants are very important, work on that. We can always continue this till the next month. So I'd like to make a motion to continue this till May 20th.
I'll second that.
At 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as possible.
Seconded by Councilman Scangarello. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, aye.
Richardson, I.
Next up, I'll make a motion to open the continuation of the public hearing regarding proposed application for the 2025 Orange County Community Development Block Grant.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Oh, aye.
Richardson, I.
Okay.
No
Anybody
public
sign up?
comment.
Okay. We kept it open to see if anybody had any community projects that they wanted to mention to us. Right now, we're going to be applying for the sidewalks up in the Horizon Heights area off of West Monbassia. So,
Were there any emailed submissions?
I haven't received anything.
anybody know of any emails that were submitted?
I haven't gotten any.
Okay. Okay.
Should we close it?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing regarding the proposed application for the 2025 Orange County Community Development Blocks Grant.
Who will second?
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Who will aye?
Richardson, I.
Okay. Item 5 is the acceptance of the April 1st, 2024 minutes. Everybody had a chance to read them? I'll make a motion
Bingham will second.
to accept them. Any changes, alterations, corrections? No? Okay, so moved. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Who will aye?
Aye.
Okay. All right, on to new business. We have a short-term rental application for 13 Ruby Road, which is SBL 352-2.1. Are you? Okay, are you representing? Or you are the? Okay, all right, yeah, no problem. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, absolutely. Just, you're gonna have to turn on your mic, please. There's a switch on the mic. You might have to spin it around.
Stand on one foot.
Hopefully that's the hardest thing I have to do tonight. Okay.
Go a little closer, see if it's working.
Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Go ahead. You're up.
Thank you for hearing me. I am hopeful of obtaining the permit to rent our home at 13 Ruby Road. If it's helpful, I'll give a brief background on myself, my family, and why we'd like to rent it. Okay, great. My wife and I have 3 children, aged 10, 8, and 2. We bought the home as a second home in November 2020. It was the height of the pandemic. Our primary residence was and is in, well, maybe not the height, but it was bad times, and it was great for us to be in Monroe. I have a long history of being in this area, living for decades in New York and hiking in the area, particularly Harriman. We very much enjoy the home. I would say the costs, new deck, new roof, several other permitted things that I have done have exceeded 6 figures, so my goals in renting the home are to defray costs. At the same time, the same enjoyment I have of being in the area, I hope to share it with others who are similarly situated.
You're near the ashram, right?
Yes,
Across the
ma'am.
street.
Across the street. And do you think you'll be renting continually throughout the year? Are you still going to use it, or are you going to do back and forth? Because you said it's your secondary home.
Yes, that's right. I do not intend to do continual renting. We intend to be there as much as we can, particularly in the summer. So, no, I do not intend continual rentals. Might be worth pointing out that it's a very nice property. We paid a lot for it. We put a lot into it. It will not be inexpensive to rent.
You're near Blythe Lake, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have lake rights to it, or would the renters, the short-term renters, be using the lake? Have you figured that out yet with your proposal?
My understanding, and it was in the application I submitted, is we do have lake rights, and we have set it up so the renters could use it, including requirements of our insurance policy with flotation devices, signage, and so forth. And there will be a waiver on the renter policy, for sure.
They're like a homeowners association or some kind of association that?
ma'am.
No? Okay, thank you.
So, I'm actually looking for it, but the policy for STRs is if there's an objection letter,
Yes.
we have, which there was one.
Yes,
There
I
is
know.
one. We have to hold a public hearing.
I understand.
And that's going to be between 15 and 30 days from this evening. So, we'd have to hold it on May 6th. I think we have another one that evening.
Okay.
So, does anybody have any other questions? No? Okay, so I'll make a motion to hold that public hearing on May 6th, 2024 at 7 PM or immediately thereafter.
Thank you all for your
I'll
time.
second.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye?
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay. Thank you
Thank you.
for being here and your complete, form here, application. Thanks. Okay, next up is the Lake Sapphire Maintenance Agreement. Council, I know that we were working on this week. It was, okay.
It was sent this afternoon in the form of an easement agreement, but I don't know if the board's had time to look at it.
It's not attached here. And I don't think we received it.
Okay, so it needs to be distributed, but it is in draft.
What's the board's pleasure? Obviously, we won't approve it, but we could hold it off till next meeting, or we could, motion for approval pending the approval of council.
I think to hold it over to the May 6th meeting, that would be, it's only about, 2 weeks away. I think that might be a prudent way for the board members to be able to read it.
Okay. So
Motion
do you want a motion
to
to table?
table
A
till
motion to
May
table?
6th?
Okay. Do I have a second?
Poole will second.
Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Okay, item 7.3 is a special counsel approval to initiate litigation in Orange County Supreme Court regarding 71 Talbot Road. 71 Talbot Road came before the planning board over a year ago. It's a lot that was in the previous Macon subdivision that was offered for dedication to the town of Monroe. Somewhere, I don't know, between, I think it was like 2011 and today, it was sold to an individual by the county. Kevin Dowd was the prior attorney. He did file all the paperwork that was needed regarding it, and it has since been sold. But I will let counsel explain the situation when there's an offer of dedication on a subdivision map.
Yeah, so this case involves, as you touched on, a offer of dedication which gets filed with the county, typically in a subdivision plan. And the law in New York State is that once an offer of dedication is filed, it becomes essentially permanent. And then it's at the discretion of the municipality whether or not they wish to accept that dedication, but it remains out there as an irrevocable offer of dedication. So my understanding is the property owners now are not cooperating with that acceptance and transfer, but they would have to. So this would compel the property to be filed and recorded in the town's name for that piece of the parcel.
Have any questions? So I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing special counsel to initiate litigation in Orange County Supreme Court regarding 71 Talbot Road, SBL 24-2-46.
Who will second?
Any other discussion?
Discussion, please. I'm wondering, did we already state why we need to, what the intention of? I just missed, I'm reading it and listening to it at the same time of why we'd have to. It was the subject of an irrevocable offer of dedication to the town of Monroe. And it states what's going on, but doesn't state why we would, which is we're taking back into.
No, we're actually accepting it for the first time, but since the property.
No, I believe Kevin did accept it and filed the paperwork, but somehow the paperwork got lost in the county.
The acceptance, or, because the offer is always filed.
Yeah.
But it's the acceptance.
I could have sworn, Brian, I saw the acceptance when I was looking through
Right,
paperwork.
well, it wouldn't frankly matter whether it was filed or not, the offer stays out there. But my understanding is that this owner, I didn't communicate with them personally, but that they are not agreeing to sign over the property, to file the necessary documents to transfer the property into the town's name.
But we don't legally own it currently, and we're seeking to take.
Right, we're looking
Legal
to,
ownership.
if that actually was filed and, there was some mistake, that would be an issue in terms of when it became ours, but no, we're looking to have it recorded in the town's name officially.
And what is on the premises now? Is it a house?
Vacant lot.
A vacant lot?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's vacant.
And do we need to state what the intention of, just that it was legally ours and that we're just reclaiming or claiming originally our own property?
Yeah, it's similar to like if somebody dedicates a lot for water purposes or a road or anything else gets dedicated, the town.
There's also a conservation easement on it, and there's a water easement on it. I believe that we could drill a well there, come out through Hamron Heights Road where the easement is, and adjoin it to Water District Number 10 and the future Pilati Water District, which also will encompass, hopefully, Arrow Park. Okay, call the question.
Hingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay, item 7.4 is the AT&T mobility site on 491 State Route 208. This is just for discussion regarding a removal bond estimate for the AT&T mobility site at that location. The applicant's representative, Tectonic Engineering, has provided a cost estimate and a decommissioning plan. That doesn't mean it's going to be decommissioned. It's just a plan. MHE, our town's engineer, has reviewed the said cost estimate at $65,000 and takes no exception to it. So I will make a resolution to approve that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. Next up is Rye Hill escrows. So after purchasing the property, there were escrows that still had balances. And, counsel?
Just a return of escrows that weren't used. As with any application, they're on file with the town. The town acquired the property, so there's no further development, and this would just be the return of the escrow to those applicants.
Right. And we are abiding by the contract that was signed to return those.
There was an
escrows.
agreement at the closing to return that escrow, but it's also part of your town code to return the
Right.
escrows.
Okay.
So
you-
this escrow is going to those three developers, I'm assuming?
It's the two owners that sold it to the town.
There's three
There's-
balances here,
There's three escrows
right?
that were under the control of the owners that sold it to us. Yeah, everything was transferred to them when they bought the property.
Okay, so it's going to,
And it's going to be paid to the attorneys for them, just to help handle the distribution, but it's going to be payable to the attorneys for those entities.
thank you.
Okay. Resolution to that.
Second.
Question?
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so moved. All right. Next up is the request for town board review regarding a water bill for property located at 4 Suddy Avenue. So the background on this is the gentleman that I spoke to had bought the property recently, and there was a leak there, and it caused his water bill to increase tremendously. The leak has been fixed. The resident contacted our finance department and informed them that he can't afford to pay the bill in full. He's requesting a payment plan, and he wants that payment plan to not include interest, so he can satisfy the bill over time. The bill for that period was $594. And I had met him out in the lobby one day with Roberta, and the way it was explained was he bought the house, had everything inspected, but did not know there was a leak in a pipe that was underground. So that's where the water went. So he's not looking to circumvent paying the bill. He's just asking for relief regarding interest.
Do we know how many months he would like this payment plan to go out for?
Well, I'm going to say it's going to be about 6, but I tried to get a hold of him today. I did not, so I will continue to, and we can, get that answer from him. So,
About 100 a month.
yeah, it'd be $100 a month for 6 months.
I don't have a problem doing that at all.
I think that's reasonable.
And then Roberta will put together the details?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Let's make a motion to approve the Suddy Avenue water bill property at 6 payments at $100, or I guess the last payment would be $94, over 6 months.
Okay.
Bingham will second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Full aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, so,
Sorry, who seconded that?
what's that?
Who seconded that?
Mary.
Mary, thank you.
Okay, next up is I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Brendan Cuniff for the position of seasonal labor in our maintenance department at an hourly rate of $20 with an employment period not to exceed 9 months, and that's a seasonal employment period. His anticipated start date is April 16th, which is tomorrow. He's been pre-approved for the position by Orange County Department of Human Resources.
Second.
Second? Okay. Call the question.
Bingham, aye?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, I.
So moved. And I will say we have a pool of 5 other people that we're looking at for seasonal work in the maintenance department. Okay, item 7.8 is mileage reimbursement for the building inspector at an annual training event. So the annual training event is in New Paltz, and he's going to be there from April 16th to April 18th. He does not want to take our vehicle here away from the other 2 building inspectors who will need it, obviously, to do their inspections. So he's asking for mileage, and it's 50 miles round trip for 3 times. Tolls are estimated at $450. So it's in his budget. So the total amount,
What is mileage now, 50?
8.5?
57.
67 cents?
For 2024, yeah.
Wow, okay.
67, okay. So it would be approximately $101. So I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
Call the question.
Am I?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, I.
Okay. So moved. Item is item 7.9, which is a home rule request. We need a resolution authorizing the home rule request on behalf of the town of Monroe regarding a state assembly bill and a state senate bill. The senate bill is S8779, and the assembly bill is A9704. And those are to authorize the issuance of bonds and notes by the town to finance the capital improvements in Water District 14, which also have been funded initially with an interfund borrowing from the town's general fund. Do I have a second?
Second for discussion. I just want to confirm this is the same water district that we were submitting for congressional funding. And just, did we preview if this would affect anything with that application?
No, it won't. It is and it won't.
That's all.
Supervisor, can I just ask, you have to sign that. Can you make that motion?
No, I can't make that motion. Somebody will make that motion after.
Well, I'll make a motion for the supervisor to
Wait,
sign.
wait, wait.
Oops.
I got this motion
Got-
first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was seconded by Councilwoman Richardson. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, I.
Okay.
So now I'll make a motion for the supervisor to sign any documents related to the Water District 14 home rule request.
I will second.
Second.
Question?
Oh,
Councilman Scancarello, second. Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Richardson, I.
Okay. Next up is the Freedom of Information Law, the FOILs. Council, did you want to discuss that? Or I know, well, I'm sorry, not council. Madam Clerk?
So I would like to just bring up a few items regarding submitting FOILs. So recently, our office has been, and I'm going to use the word inundated, with FOIL requests. Several of them are repetitive, which makes it a very tedious job for my office, in particular, my deputy. She's doing a wonderful job. However, with the amount of FOIL requests that are coming in right now, I would like to request new requests that are coming in, that we put 90 days on them for response time.
Well, that's your choice. I don't believe,
I think that's correct. It wouldn't be a town board determination because the situation could fluctuate, so it's really the town clerk as records officer that would decide whatever response period is appropriate. Sometimes you might get one that's simple, oh, the budget, it's online, you know, you could be done in 5 minutes, but others that require more in-depth research may need to be put off longer because you've got 5 more ahead of it. So that would be totally in your discretion you just have to notify the requester what the period is that it's going to be.
Definitely. So in an acknowledgement letter, it will state that. Like I said, we have currently 20 requests that are in our inbox, and there are 12 more to be pulled in. So, like I said, going forward, so that my office can tend to other duties for the residents, I would like to put 90 days response time.
fine.
Do we have
problem
to
with that.
second this for discussion, or can we just comment?
Well, there's no
Sounds-
motion,
Comment,
but
there's no
Yeah.
motion.
you're having a
Okay.
discussion if you want, sure.
Yeah, I just have a general experience to share, issues to share about it. Essentially, I would like to clarify with the clerk's office, again, we've been speaking about this in almost bits and pieces, like what our internal policy for records requests are, because coming in, obviously as a newly elected official, there's not really a quick start guide to the town of Monroe, especially we all have 4-year terms. So it's a turnover process. So I've been just speaking with other elected officials from around the county, and when they came in, they made a lot of requests for records, vouchers, everything, so that they could catch up on, create their own quick start guide. So if we could sit down and clarify, or if you wanted to share what that process should look like for internal records requests, that would be helpful. Because I know I just got an email from you stating that a method for how that could be resolved for certain categories, and I would like to sit down and then clarify my requests. But as coming in, we did speak about how, and we were all debating this, do I have any more access to records than the general public? And the rest of the county and those elected officials do say yes, and that it is typically not a process, it's not necessarily a procedure, it's usually just, when this person gets an opportunity. And we had been discussing how busy your office was with one person being down, having been
She has
injured.
since returned. but
Yeah.
Like I said, the amount of FOIL requests
Yeah.
that have been coming in, that's like a full-time job.
Right, so I'm just going to continue with my comment. So one person was away from illness. Unfortunately, they were injured. And then that was actually before that, you were inundated with the tax issue. So there's like thousands of residents coming in, using the tax service in the clerk's office. And I'm sorry, I don't know the name of that official. You're the tax collector and the clerk, obviously, and that goes with the records determination officer. So you can deputize someone, and that deputy is the only other person who can attend to those records requests besides yourself and your deputy?
My one deputy is who helps handle
Okay.
the records.
So
FOILs.
I guess my question specifically would be how much of that is from hardship of losing, so not at all, because
Has nothing
she
to do with
was-
her, no.
Yeah, she was not deputized to do that.
No.
But how much of that was also tax season? Do we know, were there any lingering FOIL requests, like from that period of time, or that once you were finished?
Tax season started January 1st
Right.
and ended April 1st.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, is so during that period of time, were there FOIL requests that got backlogged that are included in the 20 requests, is my concern of like the way that we're handling the taxes and the records at the same time? Is that part of the backlog?
I would think that's an obvious answer. We are doing our best to get these foils filled in a timely manner. We have other needs of the residents to tend to that my office does. My office never closes. We are always open. We are the focal point of the residents. Some towns, the town clerk's office can close. We do not close. Somebody is always there.
Well, I'd be interested in a write-up of what makes the difference between our office, because I'm not aware of what makes our office different between other municipalities and why they're able to close and you're not. So if you want to suggest that.
Maybe it's the location of the office.
Yeah.
We have a one entrance into this building. Okay, which I think is a great
Safety measure.
yes. So my office is responsible for handling any resident that comes in, contacting that department, and taking care of the needs of the residents, while at the same time trying to handle the rest of the other duties that my office is responsible for.
And that aspect is definitely not typical of other towns. Like they're not, I don't want to say it greeter, but I don't know any other term. They have specific employees redirecting.
I think
Go ahead.
the issue that we have here in Monroe that makes us different from a lot of other towns, most other towns, is that while we are not the largest by square miles, and while we are not the largest in population, we are the most densely populated town in Orange County, save one town in Orange County. But taking them out of the mix, we are the most densely populated town, and so that means that the work of the clerk's office is that much more busy,
Well,
right? So they do have more residents to tend to than most other town clerks. I don't have an issue with, and I don't think we can take issue with the clerk asking to give a 90-day response to FOIL requests,
And
right?
when you look at the fact that even when the Orange County mobile DMV comes here, we are at times either the first or the second largest municipality in the amount of people that they see. So that tells you something right there, that the density of this town. I mean, Val is dealing with marriages, marriage licenses, fishing and hunting licenses, people coming in with tax questions, and then every time someone comes in regarding a violation or a ticket, she either has to call the building department or she has to call the court. And yeah, it may seem trivial, but all that adds up into what that office has to do.
No, it's not trivial at all. In fact, I'm trying to assess how, as a town board, we could support our clerk's office, and it sounds like there's only 2 people in the entire town of Monroe who can answer your FOIL requests, but having a part-time designation as the tax collector, I have seen in other municipalities that is an individual job or such like that. I don't think that you can deputize a third individual to create or enact records requests, can you?
It's my office, and Barbara is who helps me with this.
Yes, and there's no other, you cannot deputize another person to fulfill records requests on top of the 2 of you.
I don't need to, can I say, subject the taxpayers to having to pay for another person. My office can handle it. I am asking, with the abundance of FOIL requests that are coming into my office, to extend the time to get answers so that we can tend to the rest of the needs for the public.
Val,
Yes.
Madam Clerk, let's be clear. You don't have to ask. You can make that
Okay,
determination.
I'm making a decision that FOIL requests will be on a 90-day turnaround time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Val.
I was going to say that, yeah, the way that office is located, they definitely see, she sees me coming up the sidewalk, and she's already like, okay, that's Mary, but here comes another resident. Is that going to be somebody who's going to need the tax assessor or the court or somebody like that? So I know they keep a very watchful eye on that office entrance in there, so I do appreciate all the extra effort you have to put in. I think Councilwoman Richardson was just looking for ways that possibly if there's something else you could think of besides this 90-day extension. If there's anything that comes up, just let the board know.
So a suggestion that I had passed on to Councilwoman Richardson this morning to possibly help alleviate some of the FOIL requests that come in is to, I guess, do some homework first. Via the website, searching under Document Center and Town Board, where minutes are listed, or from 2018, Board Docs came into play, and if you hover over the magnifying glass up top and you type in what you're searching for, all that information that is imported into Board Docs will come up. Hoping,
It's also something the residents can do as well.
exactly.
So that's something like a general announcement, just make that now,
Yep.
say, please use that feature on Board Docs.
Correct.
The feature that's not on Board Docs is the answer of, hey, what's going on Lake Sapphire, or what's the status of the work, as we don't have that dynamic going on right now with the liaisons and the special reports and the up-to-dates that we're supposed to be providing to residents. If residents just go to the website and look on the website for up-to-date, minute-to-minute constituent information, then we really don't have a need for council people to be interacting with the constituents. And I still am requesting that the differentiation and the definition of, as an internal records request, a policy so that we can all follow that and all know when and where to FOIL and what we can FOIL, or if we're all provided the records in our inbox to begin with, then we wouldn't be needing to go through the clerk's office. And I've only submitted, I think, 5 requests now in total. So that was all the same time. And once again, I think if you're counting on number of requests, then if people come in as a newly elected official, they're going to be requesting a ton of documentations, all vouchers, everything like that, to be looked at and to understand the internal mechanisms of the town. So, yeah, I mean, it's on the agenda. We've already reinstated that, or reaffirmed, rather, that you don't need to have this on the agenda or the town's board's permission. So as long as it was on the agenda, I figured we could discuss creating an internal policy for records so that we could follow it.
So I just want to point out, Councilwoman Richardson, because I don't know if you got to look at it yet, but I just clicked on the magnifying glass and typed in Lake Sapphire, which was one of the
Yes, I
questions
did.
that
I
you had.
mentioned your email earlier that
And
you
there's-
Please let her finish.
You realize that all 3 of you have interrupted me while I have been giving my comment as well. So I'm just letting her know that I did look at it, and I mentioned that in my original comment, and
So you
thank
see
you.
all the
Please,
information.
please let her finish.
Mr. Cardone, you've also interrupted.
Please let her finish. Go ahead, Madam
You see
Clerk.
all the information that is on Board Docs for Lake Sapphire.
Yes, I did. Thank you. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
And just to clarify, your 5 FOIL requests, our FOIL tracker says differently. One thing that I would like to bring out to the public's attention as well is that if anyone is anticipating or interested in submitting a FOIL request, if you would please use our online FOIL submission form, which you can find on the website. It's www.monroeny.org. Under Departments and Town Clerk, you will see the online submission form. If you send us an email, that information needs to be imported into the FOIL tracker. Depending on the length of your statement, I'm requesting that the public uses the online FOIL system to thoroughly express what it is that you're looking for.
Does the board have any objection if I discuss a prior FOIL request? Mary?
Yes.
Mary?
I don't know which FOIL request you'd be referring to.
It's the
so-
FOIL request I made to Councilwoman Richardson regarding the IBEW.
Yeah, then I have an objection, so.
Councilman Skanker. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'll make a motion that I speak to the FOIL request regarding the IBEW.
Honestly, I didn't have an answer to my question about the fact that I've requested repeatedly for an internal procedures for requesting documents as a council person, and that we need to delineate when we have to foil and when that's available to us, and why I'm not receiving copies of the original documentation to my inbox, because I think that's a big alleviation for Val and staff. And we have not closed that topic. I mean, do I need to motion to speak about it? I mean, it's already on the agenda as foil.
You can make a motion on the establishment of a policy. It would be the board's discretion to do that. I think unofficially right now, the board isn't requiring a FOIA request, but I think it's being put into the system for tracking purposes for internal.
So yes, that's
FOIAs.
what we discussed, but because there's so much discussion amongst so many individuals, it's never clear what the final iteration of events is going to be for me. So I know you and I discussed that it would be helpful for me to put them in the tracker. However, if they don't have to go through your office to get original copies of everything that's going on, like that's why in part the liaison system exists, is that the board members create special reports or they create records that then gets disseminated out to the other council members or whoever is in attendance and creating those records. Whatever they're doing gets disseminated or announced to the other members of the board. So I'm not at this time receiving any original documents. Well, not any. I'm sporadically receiving original documents from the finance department, mostly, and the movie theater. And then absent from that, I do not. So I think that is what we're struggling with here, is I'm not clear on when I need to, foil something, because I'm not, receiving it in its original
I
capacity.
believe I had given you the documents that you originally
No,
asked for.
you have always given me everything that you have from your office. I'm saying when they're originally created, the board is usually included on such creations, so it's unusual that we would have to request from the clerk. So
Yeah, so it sounds like you're looking for a policy for internal distribution of documents to town council members or something along those lines, is what I'm hearing, since there isn't one written down that really
I
explains
don't mind
it.
discussing that, but I have a motion before the board.
we weren't closed on this topic before you made the motion, is that?
I have a motion before the board that the board allow me to discuss so we can head tonight. Oil that was requested regarding Councilwoman Richardson contacting IBEW, which she has denied multiple times, and has sent an email to our clerk stating that she won't provide her personal email, her personal email documents to the town board. I have a motion. It's up to you guys.
So, I'm sorry, did you make this request as you told me this was a personal request?
Who will second?
Call the
Oh, we need to
question?
make the motion, okay, go ahead.
Call the question?
Nay.
Cardone, aye.
Who will aye?
Nay.
Okay, so previously, after the contract, the IBW contract was approved, I asked Councilwoman Richardson if she had contacted the IBEW, and she denied that. Well, I have the actual email here that proves that she did contact the IBEW, and that her responses to us here were a lie.
That's interesting, because I'm in
And,
possession of an email that I just sent earlier clarifying such
My
statement.
concern with this is, there's a New York State Public Employees Relations Board, and someone could file an improper practice with that, because when a board member is not directly involved in the negotiations of a collective bargaining agreement and approaches members of the union to influence or interfere, it could present an issue for the town of Monroe. Now, that contract was approved unanimously by the IBEW members at the Highway Department, and it was approved here 4-1. The issue at hand is that this board and the public was lied to, okay? And when you're up here representing yourself, there should not be a lie that emulates out into the public. And I will leave it at that.
Glad. I sent an email to literally every single member of this board that I shook my head because I could not hear your statement. And I reiterate that the Association of Towns told me, advised me, a council from the Association of Towns advised me that if I reach out, that is not town business, on a matter that is not town business, then I am not acting as a state agent or an officer of the state, and that if I'm reaching out on a matter of personal or political business, that I should in fact use my personal email. Because any record I obtain in my official capacity, it may be unethical for me to use that when campaigning. And a lie was stated at the dais. Supervisor Cardone stated that it was a conflict of interest to have the deputy highway superintendent position within the union contract, and it is not. So I was calling because I spoke with a working family party representative about how they believe that this is not accurate a statement. I had done a lot of research on other contracts from Buffalo to Binghamton all over the state, and there are many iterations of it being within or without of the contract. It is not a conflict of interest. So I called IBEW, and they are the one who gave me this email address to email. And when I identify myself, I am Councilwoman Maureen Richardson, and that is what I was asking about, and the matter I was asking about was in reference. I'm not the highway liaison, and the contract negotiation, as you stated, was over, so I don't see how I could have interfered in any way, and no one from the state office told me that there would be any kind of problem with me reaching out. They in fact encouraged me to reach out, as they didn't want to misstate any kind of policy representation over the phone. So, yeah, I was going to use this, and I probably will, to campaign against you in 2025.
So,
Now it's out.
Highway Superintendent Patterson, does what I had stated, that it was a conflict of interest for a deputy to be in the union contract because that deputy is prohibited from administering discipline?
Yes, there is highway departments that do have a deputy in their collective bargaining agreement, but there's a lot, I couldn't give you the number because I've never studied the number of it, that don't agree with it. And in the law book, it says that I have the say in it. And I do not believe, I said this right from the start, from the day I started here, I do not believe that somebody in charge, you can't put a chicken in charge of the chickens, because the chicken's going to cover for the chicken when the fox comes. So, and not saying that this would happen, but it could happen, and I don't believe in that.
Thank you for that. As you just reiterated what you did in conversation with us, that it's your personal opinion, whereas Supervisor Cardone sat here and called it a conflict of interest repeatedly, which is a misrepresentation of the union, and I've had it confirmed from, they actually did not even respond to this email. They responded to my phone call and encouraged me to email in. So, I mean, I just did not trust anything that you were saying after I heard that it was a conflict of interest, because it's clearly not. It's occurring across New York State. And then Frank, how do you say his last name? Perugino confirmed to press his representation is, it's not his duty to negotiate the deputy superintendent's anything to do with it. It's Pat's discretion. It's not a conflict of interest according to the union. You clearly stated, and the union completely agrees with me. So that was your response when I said I've seen it within or without the union, and the proper and appropriate response is Pat saying, I just don't want it. It's up to him, and that's what he said.
It is a conflict, the way I'm saying it. It's a conflict. He cannot perform disciplinary actions.
Legally can.
And he is, no, he cannot.
Yes,
He
because
is
it
supposed to-
exists other towns.
Okay, he won't.
He will
perform.
not, because you made it so.
No,
Oh.
he will not, and that's the reason why it's out of the contract. And it was not my choice to have it in, or have a deputy in-house. Now, to put one out of house, it makes sense to me, because I can bring somebody in if I had to go away if somebody had to perform disciplinary action, they could do it. They will not do it to each other. So it is a conflict of interest.
So what of the working leaders, if you want to clarify that? Because this is a much more productive conversation, just to simply shut down the discussion on it's a conflict of interest, it's impossible, is where I took problem. We could have had a productive and flowing conversation wherein you expressed, well, I'm not interested in that at this time, and here's my opinion. And then all of the members of this board could have weighed in, and then you could have learned and we could have learned and come to some kind of compromise or a new conclusion. So that is where I take issue with this statement that it's impossible from the union standpoint and that the union prohibits this, because it is not the case. So it's not. And they clearly stated that it's not their purview, and they do not negotiate whether the deputy superintendent is within the contract. They've clarified that. That's not my statement. So if you want to clarify further,
They don't negotiate it.
whether it's in the contract or not.
The men negotiated it out.
Yeah.
The men did, not
No,
me.
but not not IBEW 363 on the premise that the deputy highway superintendent is a conflict of interest to be in the contract. That is simply the statement that I'm accusing of being false. If he's, and I'm not even speaking about you, I'm speaking to address his statement that a lie should not be said from the dais. And I reached out in my political capacity because I did not know what I would do with this information. Obviously, I wasn't going to change your negotiations or your contract. Therefore, I did not reach out in any professional capacity or enact town business when doing so. And I don't owe an explanation for my political or personal investigations of the union and their policies, to be quite honest.
Reached out in professional capacity by opening the email saying, I am Monroe Councilwoman Maureen Richardson.
That's who I am. That's who I told them I was on the phone, and that I was looking to get a second opinion. That's not a definition of acting as a state officer. I was not enacting town business.
And she only signed it as Maureen Richardson,
Yes.
if I'm reading this
Mary,
correctly.
come on, Mary.
Come on.
The first line. Look at the first line,
Yes,
Mary.
that is who I
Read the
am.
first line.
Yes,
And
that's
ask,
what
why
she
don't you
said
ask
there.
council how that
Please
goes?
answer that. I would like you to.
You were just talking entirely about town business, just to be clear. If that's the issue, was about the highway superintendent, we just had an entire discussion with the town highway superintendent, so.
Just now, yes. What are you talking?
But
We're
that's what the
talking
email's
about
about,
this
correct?
email.
That's-
Have you
This
seen
email is about that, yes.
Right.
Do you have
Solely,
this?
solely
Yeah.
about it.
Well, I'm saying, so that's town business, obviously, if you're talking about whether or not the highway superintendent, you're a town councilwoman talking about whether or not a highway superintendent deputy should be in the contract
Not
with the
should
town.
be. I'm asking for a second opinion about the union's official position on deputy. And I mentioned political campaigns.
Let me make a suggestion then maybe, since it'll be more
And we're
objective.
asking specifically, is it because I identify myself as councilwoman?
Right, I think that certainly contributes, but let me suggest this, so there won't be, I don't want you to think I'm taking sides. We have the New York State Committee on Open Government. They'll give us an opinion. Submit the email and ask them if it would be subject to FOIL. Then it's objective.
I mean, he reveals the entire time, and everyone knew he had the email to begin with, by the way, that he was going to foil
And
it.
why did you lie?
It
Why did you
didn't.
lie?
I said that I did not reach out in my official capacity. I intentionally used this and was going to
I asked you,
use this potentially to create a post that might be political. So I did not want to obtain this record via my personal accounts. And you were trying to foil conversations between me and Bill Brown over text message.
or with the, regarding the IBEW. I don't remember exactly the way it was worded, but if
You
Madam
said
Clerk
all
wants to
personal
look it up.
sorry, I don't think you designated personal
Concerning
conversations.
the IBEW.
No, I think you spoiled for all. Well, I don't have it in front of me. That would be silly to just keep going back and forth, but I believe I saw it
Listen.
as all conversations via personal cell phone with Bill Brown. And that was a little odd.
Can you look up the FOIL, Madam Clerk, and see how it was worded? Just so we could put this to bed.
What are we putting to bed? That you have a friend in the IBEW union and that we're all pretty concerned that you're reprising against Bill Brown. I think everyone in
No,
the
it's
town
not.
knows that.
It's not any reprise against Bill Brown. It's not my decision.
No, it's not, but to claim when someone gets to discuss with Pat fairly and openly, well, have we considered having a deputy and what are the intricacies of such? Why are we preventing that discussion then? Because that makes it worse.
Nobody
When
prevented
someone-
that discussion. You had it in an executive session, and you were fine with it.
I was not. I wanted to speak to Pat further on multiple occasions, and I wanted to speak with him at the dais, but you just claimed that the IBEW union completely agreed with you, which is not the case. That just
Yes.
shuts down.
Yes, it is the
all-
case.
You realize you're also just been interrupting me, so.
I
this is-
apologize.
Can we move on?
Yeah, I'm fine with moving on. I just want
I
Val.
actually don't want to move on from the issue of what you were stating about and just clarifying that there are certain statements that shut down freedom of discussion and a totality of, well, it's a black and white issue.
You
And to
guys,
say-
I'm sorry, one second. Do you guys need anything signed? Are you good? Yep, and thanks for all you do for our community, boys. Thank you.
To state certain positions of an entire union and how this is, their policy seemed like a lie to me. So, and in that course of action, there was such extreme reactions and pushback that I believe prevented us from having any open dialogue on the issue, which to me raised red flags of intentions and everything like that. So I just firmly believe that transparency, free speech, everything like that, we can't be saying, if you're citing a policy, that to me is saying this is impossible. It is the policy of this, that this does not make it possible. There's no reason to discuss it any further, because when someone says it's up to Val's discretion, Madam Clerk's discretion of how, how long she's going to make our FOIL requests feedback to 90 days, that's up to her, then there's no reason for us to discuss that particular issue. You see what I'm saying? That's completely up to her discretion, period. If it's a policy that prohibits something, that's it, it's done. There's no real need to continue discussing it. If it's Pat's personal position that he just does not want a deputy, that also might be, period. But when he's willing to discuss why and how with us at the dais, I think that that's a discussion all worth having, because we're here for open meetings. We're here to do the work out in the open much of the time. So I just thought that was wrong to shut us down on that issue.
Nobody was shut down, but I'll make a motion to move on to item 7.11.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay, 7:11 is the St. Jude's Kids Radiothon. Madam Clerk?
So we had participated with this last year with St. Jude's. It was a radiothon. I'm sure the residents have seen ShopRite does like the boots for, or the little sneakers for, say, breast cancer awareness. So this is St. Jude's radiothon. Minimum donation is $1. My office actually will be acquiring the boots, which I will just pull that up to show you what it looks like. So it's like the sneakers. You can make a donation, like I said, a minimum of $1. That money will be going to St. Jude's Cares for Kids. They will be collecting the boot cards and the money that is brought into my office on May 13th. So we had done well with this last year, and I'm looking to do it again for them.
All right, do we have to approve that?
Sounds good. I'll make a motion, just to make it formal, that we approve Val doing the St. Jude Kids Radiothon.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
So moved. Okay. Old business, Town of Monroe social media policy. I know, Brian, you had said last meeting you would clarify some of Councilwoman Richardson's questions.
I did not ask for this to be on the agenda.
I think
did.
yeah, Councilwoman Huell was making a statement, but I don't think she ever quite finished, and it was cut off for whatever discussion was going on. But I think it kind of tied into this FOIL question to some degree, I think, because it was a matter of, at least as I understood it, that if you're making statements on social media as, for example, town officials, it's kind of the same question we were just talking about, then those posts or those social media, that content potentially becomes subject to FOIL for the same reasons, that if you're making statements, as the council person or discussing town business, then even if it's not an official town page, those private social media, like your private email, can become subject to FOIL. Doesn't mean your entire world's opened up, it just means that town business stuff is subject to FOIL. Sometimes that's not a big deal because it's already out there, and I guess, the person would just say, yeah, here's a copy of the page. The town social media policy, as I see it, is primarily geared at employees because that's how it's written. It doesn't really address itself to elected officials. So I don't know that this is not a situation where we're going to say, for example, a elected official is violating the social media policy, but rather if the elected official is posting on social media, we come back around to FOIL. And I think the other kind of secondary issue, which I think is accurate, the town board, or the majority of the town board, is free to make a statement if they think information that was put out was not accurate. The town board could pass a resolution saying, this information was out and it's not the town's position or something to that effect, or counter, that council person's statement if they want to do so. But to me, the policy itself is directed at town employees. Again, elected officials would just come under FOIL in terms of documentation or things that are put out there. And yes, the town board can adopt a resolution refuting or putting out correct information, or as you deem it to be the correct information, presuming three of you at least agree on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually have further questions on this. I was speaking with someone from Association of Towns earlier because of prior statements made that were completely factually inaccurate by Councilwoman Huell, that it is not the position of the Association of Towns in any way to recommend that elected officials be prohibited from discussing town business on social media. And in that discussion, I spoke with her because there are extreme intricacies and complexities of when someone is acting as a state agent?
Official capacity,
state actor?
I would say.
That's what they call it. I think it's state actor. And she had basically said that, again, you can discuss, becoming an elected official does not eliminate you from becoming a political or private citizen. Discussing matters of public importance on social media or in my private email that Tony had the whole time, and we all knew it, that it does not necessarily make it town business. Essentially, it's an increasingly murky mark. We are all passionate individuals. Obviously, that's how we wound up here in the first place, is we had the freedom to discuss matters as it relates to politics, as it relates to the town in our personal time. That doesn't mean that I am involved in it, or any of these folks on the board are involved in it in a professional capacity. And this whole discussion is an investigation of when and when not someone is acting as a state actor. And I do want you to specifically clarify comments made to me that when I call myself councilwoman, that automatically means I'm behaving as a state actor, in your opinion?
If you're communicating a message and you open with, I am town councilwoman, absolutely, I would think that is going to be viewed by most authorities as you making an official statement, because you're using your title as opposed to saying, I am resident, Maureen Richardson, or the easiest way to eliminate the murkiness is to say, I am providing these comments, these are not my comments as town council person, this is my personal opinion, or something like that, which is what the social media policy also tells employees to do. They're not prohibited and don't lose their First Amendment right either, but they're directed that if they're going to comment on a matter that concerns the town, they should indicate that they're commenting in their personal capacity. This way, the public at large understands that this is not my town council person's view, or that's, not her talking, but that's her personal opinion. Sometimes people don't believe those can be divided, but, that's a matter for the public to decide, because they find it hard to believe if you feel that way, then you're going to step up here and see it differently as a council person. I'm not saying that can't happen, but...
Right, and our social media policy is to prevent any inappropriate representation on behalf of the town of Monroe, that certain opinions and endorsements politically don't represent the town of Monroe at all, and it's basically a protection. And I believe the social media policy also clarifies that it does not have to be in every single comment. I'm town councilwoman, but these are just my personal opinions. They actually recommend doing that in your biography, correct? So that if I wrote, say I opened a page and it was in my biography, I had town councilwoman Maureen Richardson, that would be essentially a page that I'd create to behave as a state actor.
I would, my view, advise against having if you're going to be talking about your personal opinions, having a page identifying yourself as town council
No,
person.
if a page had that in its biography, that would specifically be for town business, and you would classify that as representational of the town of Monroe, wouldn't you?
Of you as a council person.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the town, but that would be you speaking as council person. If you had a page identifying yourself as that and then posting on it, I think, looking at it as a reasonable person, yes, you would think this is communication from the town council person.
Okay. Councilwoman Dory Houle has 3 different accounts. One is personal, one is political for Dory Houle for state senate, and one is Councilwoman Dory Houle. And one of them uses the town logo as the cover photo. And on that page, there are about 6, 7 political posts for, I believe, starting from her 2022 state senate campaign for fundraising, endorsements for the entire Republican slate that ran for the town board, and the open positions, including highway, justice, clerk, and most recently another advertisement for fundraising for her 2024 run for state senate. I just want to make it clear somehow that the town of Monroe does not endorse or support Dory Houle for state senate, and that any fundraising that she may be getting through this, I would say, based on all the advice and recent advice that you've given me of when I'm behaving as a state actor and when I could potentially be misusing my position, that this be clarified officially.
So those would be opportunities in which people tagged me in posts?
No,
and they
Dory. I have many, many, many screenshots of you creating original.
I believe you do.
Yeah.
I absolutely
original
believe
content,
that you have.
asking residents from your official town
that you're
councilwoman
stalking my Facebook
yeah,
page.
stalking. It has like 10 posts on it, and I looked at it yesterday because you told us that you had this, as well as you told us that the Association of Towns told you to ban my use of social media as an elected official because there's so much misinformation and it's growing year after year that they recommend that as a town you ban the use of it and any elected official speaking about town business.
I don't ever recall using the word ban.
Sure.
Maureen,
You
did you
could have
attend
used it
that
different.
Association of Towns meeting?
I attended it as the newly elected, and I actually had Sarah forward me the PowerPoint today.
You attended the Association
I
of
attended
Towns in New
that
York City?
seminar at the newly elected officials seminar that I
But
went
not
to.
the one in New York City?
No, I did not. And I had Sarah forward me that PowerPoint and
Mm-hmm.
speak to me for quite a while today and email me about all the intricacies and nuances of using that as an elected official. And there wouldn't be any intricacies or nuances to freedom of speech or FOIL if their recommendation was to not allow elected officials, whatever phrasing you use, I apologize if I misquoted you, to disallow us from using it as elected officials. There would be no nuance. So I would just like to make it, I don't know, I guess I would like to make a motion that the town of Monroe in no way endorses, supports, or, I don't, what was the wording you guys used on my constant contact? The denouncing of my tree contest?
We never denounced your tree contest. I'm so
I'd
glad
like to
you
make
brought
a
that
motion
up. Okay. All
that
right.
the town of
wanna
Monroe in
talk
no
about this
way
now?
endorses, supports
Okay, one at
Dory
a time.
Hoole for state Senate campaign.
Maureen, I'm going to give you a minute, and then we'll give Councilwoman Houle a minute.
Okay, I was just continuing my statement. So I'm in the middle of a motion. Can someone help me out with the wording? I would like to make a motion that the town of Monroe in no way endorses or supports the political campaign Dory Hoole for state Senate 2024, past or previous campaigns of any political figure having to do with the town, as the town of Monroe cannot endorse political candidates.
Bingham will second.
All the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scangarello, nay.
Are you asking if we, I want to clarify this, is if as a town board, we do not endorse
The
her?
town of Monroe, the official, we are not the town of Monroe, are we, Brian?
Yeah, the only problem I have with this is you can't
Can't bring up
vote to
political.
the contrary, you know what I mean? See, like, you can't endorse political campaigns as a town.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you really can't have a vote, because even if it came out, no
No,
matter which way.
sorry, I meant to clear, it's a statement, making clear a statement that the town of Monroe does not endorse or support.
Right, but if everybody did vote no, even though,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I got a problem
It's a
with the whole.
statement to put out a
But
statement.
it's two negatives, so grammatically, if they voted no on that, then it would be an endorsement, so that's the point that council's trying to make.
Like, I think you're making a statement that's already the law. The town can't endorse political campaigns.
Well, it's misleading. That's what I'm trying to say. So I think we need to clarify. So if, like I said, if someone wants to help me with my wording on this motion, Mary, do you want to help out with the motion? I'd like to make a statement clarifying that the town
Maybe,
does not
Mary, we
endorse this
hold this
misleading.
over to the next meeting?
I think that's a better option. That way we could discuss the exact wording.
Okay, we'll talk about my Senate campaign, which I have never brought up in public session, in this building, in the town of Monroe. I don't even campaign in the town of Monroe, so that residents can know that when I am here as their councilwoman, the only person who brings attention to the fact that I'm running for state Senate in the town of Monroe is you. So we will discuss my campaign for state Senate at a second town board meeting. That's fantastic.
Did you want to talk about the tree?
Yes, oh, yes, the tree. So,
Are we
at the left,
talking
I'm,
about the trees under this category? Or do we have to make a motion?
No, you brought it up. I'm fine with it. If
How
anybody-
did I bring it up? I'm just asking for the same wording to be put through constant contact for a statement. I don't see that as bringing in, I mean, we've talked about a number of issues. That doesn't give us all license to freely discuss it without making a motion. Do we need to make motions under old business for
I
discussions?
thought you were given a minute, and then I was given a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's true.
The
We
town
did
board
say
rules
that.
are that if you believe there's consensus, you can raise an item under new business. If you think it's going to be contentious, then you guys will need to vote on it and decide who can bring up an item of old
I don't
business
mean to take your
or
minute
new
away
business.
from you, to be completely honest. I just was in the middle of that statement when you
But
started
there you
speaking.
go, you're still taking my minute away.
Well, but like, we're now going to vote.
All right,
like,
Councilwoman
he announced-
Richardson, let
She has a minute, let
Councilwoman
her speak.
Houle speak. Go ahead.
So the tree contest. We had a meeting of the Conservation Commission in which the tree contest was discussed, and I had invited you to that Conservation Commission meeting as an olive branch to extend to you to make you feel welcome with the town board. And you came to that meeting, and when we discussed it as a commission, everyone was under the impression that this was going to be a contest hosted by the Conservation Commission. You very quickly jumped to creating the flyer for it, at which point it was requested that the flyer be reviewed by the Conservation Commission and also passed by the attorney so that it could be read for any language that might be injurious to the town. Neither of those two things happened, and that flyer went out as a Preserve Monroe event, as a Preserve Monroe contest, much to the dismay and discouragement of the Conservation Commission and me, quite frankly. We all felt kind of stabbed in the back by that. Upon reading the language in the flyer, we noticed that there was several pieces of information in there that could put the town in a bad spot. And so as the town and as the Conservation Commission, we have to separate ourselves from that. because we never had the opportunity to review this flyer. So we are not preventing you from doing anything. The Preserve Monroe can do this tree contest, but it is solely for Preserve Monroe. It does not have any backing from the town of Monroe nor from the Conservation Commission.
And neither does your political campaign. But in response to that,
Again, you're bringing it up. Thank you.
you put our town
Thank
logo
you.
as your cover photo.
Okay.
And I'm going to respond to
we're
the
not-
tree items now that, I would like to respond because I have a completely different version of events.
Of
So
course
this
you
is
do.
why
You
I
always
said,
have a
Why
completely
don't-
different
why don't
version
you-
of
Why don't you
events.
maybe let the Conservation Commission chair speak, because he would be neutral.
he's not neutral. That's what I'm about to speak about, and she just asked me, so this is why I wanted to motion for this to be a separate item. You see, it was once it comes up, people have responses. She just gave a new topic, air, and now everyone else is going to have opinions on that. So we don't even have another item under old business, so I don't see, this is what, a point of order
Board
maybe
doesn't want to
necessary?
discuss this, you can move to not discuss it, or you can move to have a discussion. That's
How-
up to the board.
well, so are you guys going to let me respond to the statements that she's made, or do I have to motion to be able to even respond? I mean, that's a personal, what is it called, a personal point of privilege?
If you've opened a discussion, you should, I don't see anyone objecting to you responding.
Exactly, let her.
Go ahead.
So in executive session, and this is not confidential, and I was advised, and you can stop me, but I'm pretty sure this advice is correct, is that you can discuss pieces of executive session that is not confidential information. So we've been discussing, like she said, I feel that I'm being prevented from participating in the town of Monroe in official business. I feel that everything I bring to the table is either squashed down or taken and run with. To be quite honest, I was not included on any conversations that had to do with the clean sweep, even though I made many effort to prepare and talk with other people in the community to see what I could bring to the table in that regard, including speaking with the Cornwall cleanup crew, and I was excited to get involved with that, but I was not included whatsoever on any emails or anything like that. So it is false that I was asked to attend the commission meeting as a olive branch, in my opinion, mainly because I brought up the tree contest and that this was an idea that I have had for over a year, and that I would do it as an agent of Preserve Monroe before I ever won this election. And that I brought it up because I felt like I didn't know how Robert's Rules of Order worked. I didn't know when I could be free to speak and bring up new items. I was learning. That's why we've always had these questions of, oh, Mr. Nugent, are we adopting the 11th edition? Are we adopting the 12th edition? When is this? Point of order there. So I'm new. I was trying to learn the rules so that I would know when I could bring up new business and how to submit items for agenda. And then when we were in executive session, we don't follow those rules. It's just conversation. So I blurted out, after a bunch of complaints, I want to have a tree contest. I want to be able to work on this. If I'm not liaison to anything, if I'm not the preservation liaison, if I'm not this, how and when can I behave in an official state actor capacity in my role? What is the full breadth of it? What's the scope of it? What's the authority of it? And Mr. Cardone, or Supervisor Cardone, just said, you can do that. And we were discussing it, and I had basically brought it up as there's two ways of doing it. Do I need approval from the board? And it was basically, I can't remember if I had stated it and he just agreed with it, or who it came from originally, but we can do as we please, in certain regards, but to bring it to a board vote is majorly for financial reasons. And I don't want to misquote or misrepresent policy on that because it's still murky and we're working to understand it. So I had said, okay, so I could either go through the town board and get those financial aspects approved, or I could go through the Conservation Commission. And I was still deciding that. In my mind, this is my tree contest. I brought it to the board. I've specifically stated that this is something that I'm interested in working on. And we've all just stated I need to be able to have the freedom to fulfill this role and do what I can for the best of our constituents. And then all of a sudden it's on the agenda for a commission meeting. And you don't need to invite me to those meetings because I'm an elected official and I've always attended them whenever I can. So I don't quite understand where you're coming from. I sat in the meeting and I gave a presentation from my point of view about, and I was the only one speaking. There was not
nobody
another.
else could.
I was asked to give a presentation. Yeah, okay, great. Let's all just,
Can we move on to the next item?
I'm fine with that.
I'm not finished talking, so sorry that everybody who brings this up and
Okay.
who keeps
Mary,
accusing me of
Do
things.
you want to make a motion to move on to the next item?
Let's move on.
Okay.
Public
Make a motion.
So it's
what
not,
number are we
actually, I
on?
would like to say,
We're
so
gonna
it's
go
a
to-
town-approved
we're-
contest
we're gonna
as
go-
my state
We're
actor
going to go to public
agency or not.
comment, Mary.
All right, I'll make a motion that we go to public comment.
I'll second. Call the question.
I thought I was in the middle of a point of personal privilege.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Point of order.
Carol
Okay.
Hawkshurst.
So moved.
Point
All
of
right.
order. Hello, Supervisor Cardone,
I
point
don't
of
have
order.
to, I don't have to acknowledge your point
It's a
of
point of
order.
personal privilege, and you need to take
No,
out
I
Robert's rules.
don't have to acknowledge it.
Yes, you do.
We
You
just made a-
always
we
have to
just made a
acknowledge a
motion.
point of order.
Public comment, who is the
Carol
first on the
Hawkshurst.
list?
Matt
What is the
Ladka.
point of adopting Robert's rules?
Come on up, sir.
Just a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes.
Just turn the switch on.
I think it's on, Matt.
I
Just
think
try
it's on.
talking.
Oh, turn, it's right up top, Matt. Just slide it one way or the other.
After Matt
There you go.
Latka will be
Matt, you
Carol
working out?
Hawkshurst.
You working out?
No.
You look good.
Thank you, though. I want to sit here and just address a couple weeks ago, actually a couple months ago, I brought up a couple of concerns to the board about some busing concerns, and found out through community and different posts that there was a variety of people who had busing concerns. I was since invited, I think it was early April, to a meeting where we met with one of the bus companies and some town officials that were here. And we had a nice discussion, and we talked from different point of views, got all of our, concerns out there. I believe it was a start. I believe it was a good thing for us to do that. I believe that everyone was listening. It was something that I look forward to still be part of, and I think it is, our busing concerns are not going to be solved in one meeting. They're going to take some time. But I can already say, and speak for Hawkshurst Road, the bus seems to be moving a little bit slower on the road, so there's some good with that. I do know that we have some other concerns out there that are going to take time to address. And we look forward to working closely with the different groups, hopefully all of the buses that are in Monroe, and address that because it is a concern for everyone. This is something that is not only, I'm speaking from the Hawkshurst perspective, Orange Turnpike, because that's where I live, but there were 3 other areas that were represented. But one thing that I would like to go out into, I don't know where I'm speaking to, but to the TV audience that's here, if anyone has a busing concern or any concern, please come down. State it to the board in this public comment. We don't know. If it wasn't for me coming down to these meetings, I don't think we would be starting to move in the right direction. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a start. So I thank you very much for taking the time to listen and organize that event that we had.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank
Matt.
you,
Thank
Matt.
you, Matt.
And thank you for being at that meeting, Matt.
Carol Hawkshurst.
Good evening.
State your name and address.
My name is Carol Hawkshurst on Hawkshurst Road, Monroe. Along with Matt, because I know he was here along with myself at one of the board meetings expressing our concerns about the bus situation. And we see it throughout Monroe, not just Hawkshurst Road. But I do want to thank you for coordinating the meeting with the bus company. And, you know, the driving had seemed pretty reckless. For example, I saw on my road a big bus backing into the driveway of one of the residents. And the little guy who lives in that house was walking out behind the bus to get onto the bus. And, you know, this is just really overall a matter of safety and concern for everybody, you know. So, you know, I unfortunately wasn't able to attend that meeting, but I did hear that it went very, you know, it was a good start. So I also want to mention, just for the record, because it's on social media, on a social media site, Preserve Monroe. Just for the record, there are no yeshivas operating on Hawkshurst Road as alleged by someone on that site. There's someone making these false statements, and by this, you know, he's making these false statements, and he doesn't even live on Hawkshurst Road. So I'm really unsure where his interest lies by throwing out these false statements. It's pretty upsetting. You know, it's just creating, I think, more contention, like, you know, with our neighbors. There's no reason to throw things out there when that's completely false. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. And another point of personal privilege, because Preserve Monroe
Excuse me.
my site.
The town board will comment after every public speaker is done.
Those
You'll have the
comments were made by
opportunity.
Monroe Gazette. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi. Last time I was here, I was whining about partisanship on the Monroe Sewer Commission, the Monroe Basin Sewer Commission, and Mary's answer comforted me that it had moved on into a new era, and also there's a new administration in Chester also. So I have confidence that the Moodna Sewer Commission will be moving forward, and I withdraw my ancient problems. But and one other ancient thing, I was up here to go over this is years ago, the theater finances. So I read out what I had, and then I sat down, and then Councilman McGinn addressed it, and he mentioned my name. So I popped up and I said, point of personal responsibility, personal privilege, point of personal privilege. And I'm standing there, and the chairman tells me to sit down, and then he gets up. He's gonna call the state troopers, and the town attorney, Mr. Nugent, told me that it didn't apply to the audience; it only applies to the board. I thanked him. I sat down. It was, you know, that's the way it's done. Now, the last two meetings, a council person here has asked for a point of order, and it has been ignored by the chairman. As far as I read in Robert's Rules of Order, somebody says point of order, you stop, you have to ask them what it is, make a decision on it, ask the attorney for help, but you're not supposed to ignore it. So, and one other thing missing, Robert's Rules of Order, is that what we're following here? What edition? I'd like to be told what edition it is so I can follow it and make sure that I can help you guys out, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Rick Colon? No? Dennis Fordham?
Yes, good evening. Dennis Fordham, chairperson of the Monroe Conservation Commission.
Evening.
I take some objection to the discussion that's been here tonight with regard to the discussions that we had at the last Conservation Commission meeting, and subsequently the flyer that went out with regard to the tree competition. At the Conservation meeting, Councilwoman Richardson did attend, and I, in fact, was very happy for her attendance to be there. She spoke enthusiastically about the biggest subject that this came under was the support of the Arbor Day. There's to be an Arbor Day celebration at Smithclove Park on April the 27th, and that's what this is under the heading thereof. We were discussing what we could do at that event. You know, tree saplings are going to be given out, literature, we'll be talking about invasive species and wildlife conservation issues. And also as a bullet item on there was a tree contest. Wouldn't that be a good idea to have a tree contest, primarily for the kids, to be their attention to be heightened, to look at trees and be interested in trees. We spoke about that for some time. Councilwoman Richardson had some good ideas as to how that should be proceeded, and the items that would include, the rules, how that would be put out. At no point were we given or hinted that this would not be a Conservation Commission event and flyer, function, whatever. Basically, towards the end of that discussion, I specifically asked, will you circulate that draft for review? And the answer to that was yes. Subsequent to that, a little bit later on, we were a little bit concerned about the legal implications of what may or may not be in that flyer, and it was agreed that the draft would be submitted, I assume, to Brian to review that document. As far as I know, that did not happen. I was hoping to receive that draft after the meeting. I did not receive it. At a later point, a few days later, there was some exchange of emails, but I then get a call from Councilwoman Richardson to say, plans have changed. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. And we are proceeding with the flyer as part of Preserve Monroe. And that we, the Conservation Commission, did not need to be involved, and the same would go for the Smithclove Park. I think I asked, this is exactly what you want? No involvement in the Conservation Commission? No.
Your time has ended.
I'll run the meeting, okay?
As chairperson of the
I'll make a motion to extend Chairman Fordham's time for another 3 minutes.
Second.
Call the question.
Aye.
Thank you.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Poole, aye.
Aye. Richardson, aye.
I object to that objection as part of the Conservation Commission chairperson in any event.
I'm just trying to be fair, like how everyone else gets to
Councilwoman
interrupt
Richardson,
me
let him speak.
and tell me that I'm not allowed to talk to residents individually,
Stop the clock,
but we've
please,
stop the clock, Val.
watched Tony and Dory and Sal all speak and address and talk back and forth, like has always been an issue with commenting, and how we've asked that other residents extend their
Can
time.
I continue?
Yes,
please?
you can.
Sure, go ahead. Thank you.
I accepted that situation from that phone call. I think the day after, I then received the Preserve Monroe email with the flyer in there, which I had not reviewed and not agreed to. Okay, I have absolutely no objection to a tree contest. I think it's a good idea to encourage the residents, and particularly children, to participate in tree preservation. We had not approved that, we had not reviewed it, and there was 2 items on there that I found that we would not have accepted. That is, that this would make a good contribution to the revisions to the tree law that has been going on now for the last year or so. I and others have been actively involved. This tree contest would have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on that tree law revisions. We are hoping to do an inventory of local trees. This is not an insignificant undertaking. We're probably focused on one specific area initially, such as Smithclove Park. There again, a tree inventory has little bearing on a competition to find the largest tree. Yeah, it's nice, but the tree inventory focuses on all aspects of the trees, how many trees there are in a certain area, the size of those trees, the health of those trees, the certain species of those trees. It's an overall assessment. So on those 2 items, no, the competition has no bearing whatsoever on what we are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Appreciate it, Dennis. Thank you very much.
If
Are we going down the line, or?
Nope, we have to wait, see if...
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Liam Weishart, you would have needed to have signed up, ma'am.
I think, can we motion that anyone in the audience who did not know this policy, who had to sit through this entire meeting, can we make a motion, please, that she be able to speak?
Sure, I'll second that motion.
Call the question.
Am I?
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool eye.
Richardson, aye.
Liam Weishart,
Hello. Hello, I'm Liam Weishart from Harriman Heights Road. Mr. Cardone, I was surprised that the only statement you made about 2 weeks ago meeting was that there was too much interrupting. I'm paraphrasing. I would not have been able to sit through a statement like the one you made 2 weeks ago. I don't know anyone that would have sat through that statement without saying something in their own defense. And if I made a statement like that at my place of employment, I would probably be terminated or at least reprimanded. If a person in a position of leadership were to make a statement like that, again, they would likely be placed on unpaid leave. They would be reprimanded. They would be terminated. That's just not the way things are done in a professional workplace. And I know you're going to respond to me. That's fine. You seem to be engaged in an effort to drive Maureen off the board. And let me tell you, that is the most stubborn person I've ever met in my fucking life. Sorry. Excuse my language.
Please refrain from that.
You will not succeed. And what you should do instead is try to find some common ground, which you do both have. You both do care about this community, I believe. You both, I think, actually could work together. You both have common personality traits, believe it or not. So please, I ask you to find a way to work together for the betterment of this town. Thank you.
You.
wanted to speak?
Yeah, come on up.
Come up and please state your name.
Hi, I'm Joellen Fordham. I live on Conklin Road. I'd like to address the fact of what the attorney was saying about how the council presents itself, whether it's professionally or personally. I am a witness to my husband being called by Councilman Richardson and stating your name and a very derogatory voice message to my husband that we had. Okay, I don't appreciate it. You presented yourself as a town board member to my husband and was derogatory. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. And I want to comment as a resident of the town board of Monroe, this is not the Maureen Richardson Town Board. The whole entire evening, I don't come to many, I've come to this. We've discussed what Maureen Richardson has a problem with, not what the town people have a problem with. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all for public comment.
Okay. Councilwoman Richardson?
Yes,
You want to put the clock up, please, for 3
See,
minutes?
this is what I'm talking about, is we're now starting to time council people.
No, it's not. It's in the rules.
Yeah, except you haven't ever followed them when it comes to speaking back and forth and asking individual questions.
Because we've never taken more than 3 minutes to respond.
That's false. That's completely false. All I've ever
I am
heard,
starting the
clock. Start the
all
time.
I have heard tonight is how I am the problem, just as I hear as soon as I got elected in that back room. I would like to know what about my statement was derogatory, as I left it as a voicemail to Dennis after many personal conversations telling him, please leave me out of whatever issue and drama that is going on where Dennis seems to want to be appointed to the planning board. I don't want to be in between a political drive to get on the planning board. I don't want to be on a political drive as a liaison of the commission. I don't want to be on a political drive. I don't want to argue with anyone. I wanted to put on a tree contest. I want to know what the extent of my, you are all speaking. You are all speaking and interrupting me. Do I get more time now? I wanted to put on a tree contest. I asked to put on a tree contest and how I could go about that in my official duties. It makes absolutely no sense that every single agenda that we're bringing up, I asked you about this foil. That is not me bringing that up. I would like to put agenda items on the agenda. That's not my ability. We all get timed responses to public comment. We all get the ability to discuss in the venue of open meetings. I stand by that everything that Dory and Dennis has said about the tree contest is contentious and not true. I've recorded many conversations to the complete opposite. I wanted to put on a tree contest. If I feel the need to record phone conversations to prove to the board that it's a tree contest that I wanted to do, you know that there's a problem here. I would like there to not be a problem here. I want to follow the rules so that each of us is treated fairly and universally and that the taxpayer doesn't have to sit through this. You'll notice that I motioned that you be able to speak and thanked you even though you did criticize me, as I have done throughout. I don't believe that the way this board conducts itself is fair. I am being told that I am the problem no matter what I do by this board. I have tried to find a way to work as a sole council member on projects that I want to work on. It was my idea, the tree contest. I spoke and presented, in my opinion, at your meeting. I was not invited to such meeting. I always attend whenever I can the Conservation Commission meetings. You are an advisory body to me, and that's what I thought I was doing. The Monroe Conservation Commission advises the town board. You don't give me permission to work on preservation issues. I have the ability to legislate, and that tree contest will be assisting me create my changes and my edits and amendments to the law that I am legislatively responsible for. You don't get to dictate that, and that's my statement on that.
I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight and for your comments tonight, and I'd like to thank you for your patience in sitting through everything that you had to listen to tonight.
Regarding the tree contest or plan or whatever that the Conservation Commission hopefully will again pursue on its own. I'm not quite sure if you are going to. I hope you will follow through. It would be good to have 2 lists of trees that people can help identify. If that would make our tree code so much better, because I know you need a list of certain heritage trees or native trees and things like that. So I hope the Conservation Commission will still continue to pursue some kind of contest or some kind of initiative to get the young people involved, as you had mentioned. I do think Councilwoman Richardson, the way she tried to get the tree contest going, didn't pan out exactly as she had hoped. And I think when she came up to obstacles, she didn't know any other option than just to bulldoze her way through and put through the contest only by her, since I don't think there was enough time to get things done with the Conservation Commission holding another meeting. And I know she also tried to go to the Smith Clove Park meeting. So I think she was trying to do things the right way, but again, she was young, didn't know all the avenues, and I think we just need to work on guiding her along, maybe to pursue other things in the future, since this turned out to be such a complicated venture. So that's my comment.
Good. Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I think the complication wasn't brought on by the Conservation Commission. And the fact that previous to that, there was an event held in our parking lot, and there was no insurance, no building use form filled out for it, and there was no safety measures put in place. And when that starts to go awry, we are jeopardizing the liability of the people we represent. And to have that event here on Sunday and not have any notice to any town board members is a disgrace. We can't do that. You know so, Mary, because you always questioned, is there insurance for it? Is there a building use form filled out? And here we are with cars bottlenecking at the entrance and the exit there that they went on to
Point of
Orange
order.
Turnpike.
How is this a response
And
to a public
When-
comment?
Supervisor
if not
Cardone is
bring-
speaking.
I did say point of order, and you actually do have to stop when someone calls point of order, according to our rules. I'm asking how this is a response rather than bringing up a new topic for discussion, because everything that he's discussing, again, allows the board to discuss this.
if you let me dovetail into why I brought it up. So now you move forward, and I had reached out to our insurance company, and I received a letter back from them.
Timer's
And-
not on.
And you took
I
about a
stopped
minute of
his
my
time.
time.
Yeah, so
And-
put it back on.
The insurance company said you cannot have any event, you cannot sponsor any event without insurance relating to it. And the tree contest is another example. There was nothing done within the realm of the Conservation Commission or the town board. It was done within the realm of Preserve Monroe. So that's why I spoke to Brian, I spoke to Dennis, I contacted Dory, and everyone was in agreement that we should put out a statement that we're not endorsing it for the safety of the liability of this town. And the only other comment I'll have is in regard to Liam's comment. I respect your comments, but I will say if you lied to your employee, I'm sure you would have been fired. That's it. I'm done.
Supervisor, can I comment?
Sure.
Times in the prior meetings, this is just.
You took
Do
45
we
minutes
have
of it.
I'd like
Yeah.
to comment.
Point of personal privilege after, do we have that ability or not?
Point of personal privilege would be something like you can't hear, or we need to do something with facilities, not really, you want to interject, but you.
So you can't respond when people, that's just my interpretation of what that was defining as I was instructed, Robert's rules.
Because you're accused of misconduct or something?
Yes, yeah.
Address that, I mean, it's the chair that would address the point of personal
But he's
privilege if you
not
want to allow the
address-
response.
I'd like
Addressing point of
the
orders.
Madam Clerk to respond.
That's fine.
Three things. The other thing that was not taken into consideration regarding that event was a permit by the village, which I know in the past we have done for, I believe it's Lakeside Firehouse when they have the garage sale here. So that is another issue. Mr. Burke, in answer to your question regarding Robert's rules, those are actually in board docs, item number 9.1. The rules are listed there. Council Nugent, I believe, is that version 11?
Yeah, version 11 is the version that the town board adopts at the reorganization meeting, but the town board has its own rules, which are also posted on every agenda, and those would control, but Robert's rules would apply beyond those rules. And then we have adopted the small board rules, which prevent the board members from having to stand up every time they make a motion or things like that. The town rules are in every agenda on board docs at the bottom where it says public comment. Right above it, it says
Rules
rules
for
or
public
town board
comment.
rules, so they're in there on each agenda.
And lastly, I would just like to comment, regardless of political party, I work for the town, the residents of the town of Monroe. And being a town clerk, prior to that I was deputy town clerk, but being a member of this town, I believe Councilwoman Bingham and former Councilwoman Cologne can testify that I have never had an issue.
Wait. He's
that.
not
I heard
identifying as a woman. You
Councilman.
said
I'm sorry,
Councilwoman Cologne.
Councilman, I take that back,
And you
I'm
see,
sorry.
I do want to point out that we all have the purview to do this, and it's not considered
But
interrupting.
I work for the residents of the town regardless of political party, and I have never had an issue with either of you. That's all.
That's
Okay,
rich.
motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
We were just in
Get
the
a
middle of discussing
Topic?
What?
point of order for point of personal privilege, as it
Legal
appears that you were.
hiring of legal counsel.
Yeah, do you want to we should rule on the point of personal privilege if she's
Yeah, are you
indicating-
accusing me of misconduct because I wasn't planning or sponsored or involved in Sunday's event whatsoever? So,
You aren't?
no,
No, that you
you
were-
should discuss it with Jim. I don't feel comfortable discussing any
You
further.
were here, and you're the one that put it out on Preserve Monroe.
I did, that's true.
Okay. Okay. Motion to go into executive session to discuss hiring of legal counsel.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Thank you, everyone. If you
George.
Ready, Georgie? Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to come out of executive session and back to the regular monthly meeting.
I'll second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, aye.
Okay.
So we were in executive session, and the discussion led to the determination that Harrison Beach would be the best one to handle the investigation. So I'll make a motion to have Harrison Beach proceed with the investigation.
Okay, I'll second for discussion.
Can we vote? Or do we have to recuse ourselves?
No, because it's a requirement, every one of us has to vote. Yeah.
It'd be a rule of necessity case because it has to be voted on, and if you all recuse yourself, you can't vote on it.
Yeah.
So by rule of necessity, you would
Okay.
be authorized to vote on it.
All right, I just want to state to the public, I personally think this is ludicrous that we're going to be spending $20,000 on an attorney to settle some, what's the term I'm looking for?
Clarify, that's an estimate. There's no flat.
Estimate, okay, estimate of $20,000 to settle some complaints that we have. We've never done this in the 8 years I've been on the board, and I will call the question.
If you've called it for discussion, I think everyone has the right to comment, so.
Go ahead.
I also think it's ludicrous that we have to spend an estimate of $20,000 when the real issue is that certain people can't put their personal feelings aside to work for the betterment of the public, and they seek to isolate and control elected officials, their rights, their inherent abilities to represent the public, and that we should all be able to put politics and personal problems aside to represent them.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Aye.
Richardson, nay.
Are you?
I'd like to recall the vote.
Yeah. Let's recall the vote.
Do it again.
I'd like to recall the vote. I'll make a motion to recall the previous vote.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye. To recall the vote.
Oh, yeah, aye.
Yeah.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, nay.
Okay, Councilwoman Bingham, make the motion.
Make the motion to hire Harris Beach attorneys at law to complete the investigation of complaints.
Does it have to?
I'll second it.
What's the issue?
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, nay.
Cardone, nay.
Pool, nay.
Good night.
Richardson, nay.
Okay.
The motion
So-
fails.
What's that?
Motion fails.
Motion fails.
Yeah.
But I don't understand because this is just not the law firm that I would have chosen. So
Then do you want to
Okay,
make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:34.
Second.
Call the question.
Bingham, aye.
Scancarello, aye.
Cardone, aye.
Pool, aye.
Richardson, nay. I'm still,
Okay.
we need to investigate this issue. Okay.